Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Barrel and Glass. I'm Trissa and I'm here to talk about your alcohol. And today we have the Don Julio Tequila with us today. So let's get started. So let's talk about its history. So the Don Julio Tequila was founded in 1942 by Don Julio González. The story is very warm and heart-touching because it shows the passion and drive of one single person and how he very meticulously brought this amazing tequila to us. Don Julio started his tequila journey when he was just 17 years old, when he began working in a distillery. And by the time he founded his own distillery, he was already experienced tequila maker. So around the 1950s, he introduced the idea of a single estate tequila where the agave was grown and harvested on the same land that the tequila was produced, because he wanted to ensure that it is of the highest quality, which is why he wanted to bring in this single estate concept. Back in the days, he brought in the innovative techniques of using larger copper stills, which was resulted in higher quality of tequila. And for many years, this tequila was produced in small batches and was only available in Mexico. But as the demand grew, Don Julio started exporting his tequila into international borders and thus creating his premium brand. You could tell that this was the birth of luxury tequilas, because back in the day in 1980s, tequilas was largely seen as a drink for casual occasions, usually paired with lemon and salt, and was widely consumed as the cheap alcoholic drink, especially in the US and other countries. But Don Julio wanted to bring a premium tequila that could be savored like fine wine or like whiskey. The turning point came when Don Julio created the very first aged tequila in the industry. Back in the day, tequila bottles were bottled and sold after a very short period, aging, if any, that is. But Don Julio knew that the longer the tequila was aged, the smoother and richer the flavor came out to be. He went breaking against the norm of making tequilas and brought upon premium luxury tequila. We're gonna look into how the Don Julio Añejo is produced. So let's first look into the ingredients needed to make this tequila. The very first and main ingredient is the blue Weber agave. Don Julio uses 100% blue Weber agave that is aged between 7 to 10 years. This is to ensure it has the highest sugar content and flavor. The second ingredient needed for making tequila is pure water, and the third ingredient is natural yeast. A very specific yeast is used to help ferment the sugar into alcohol for making the tequila. So let's talk about the production process. The production starts with the very first step, which is harvesting the agave. So the agave plants are harvested by removing the leaves, leaving the heart of the plant, which is called as the pina. And each of these pina can weigh between 20 to 80 pounds, which is around 9 to 35-6 kgs. And the mature pinas with the highest sugar content are the ones that are selected. The second step to the production process is the slow roasting. So the pinas or the heart of the agave are cut into halves or quarters and placed in traditional brick ovens for slow roasting. This roasting process can last up to 72 hours, during which the natural starches from the agave are converted into fermentable sugars. And once the roasting process is complete, the pinas that you get are soft, caramelized with a sweet honey-like taste. And then we move on to the third step in the production process, which is crushing. The roasted agave hearts or the pinas are then crushed to extract a sweet juice called as honey water. If you're looking at the traditional way of doing it, it used to be done manually using stone wheel pulled by mules called as tajonas, but Don Julio currently uses mechanical crushers for more efficiency. The next step into the production process, the fourth step, is fermentation. So the extracted juice or the honey water is mixed with water and are placed in large wooden vats or stainless steel tanks for fermentation. And then the natural yeast, the third ingredient that we spoke about earlier, natural yeast is added, which then ferments the sugar in the agave hearts into alcohol, and this whole entire process takes around 3 to 5 days. And then we move on to the next step in the process, the production process, which is the distillation process. Now the fermented liquid, which is called as mosto, is distilled twice using traditional copper pot stills. The purpose of the first distillation is to separate the alcohol from the solid, which produces the raw spirit. And then we move on to the second distillation, which refines the spirit. Next step is aging. So this is where the different lines of the Don Julio tequilas differ from each other. So the aging process. So we have the Respirado, the Añejo, the 1942, the Extra Añejo. All of these are aged differently, giving its unique flavors. And unaged tequilas of the Don Julio are directly bottled after the fermentation process, and only certain ones are aged. So we are going to talk about this one right here, which is the Añejo, and this is aged for 18 months. So let's talk a little more about that. The distilled liquid is transferred to American white oak barrels for 18 months. So this gives it its vanilla, toasted oak and caramel flavor, and this aging process also kind of gives a softness to the tequila. Once the aging is done, we move on to the next step, which is filtration, the seventh step. So this is done to remove any kind of impurities from the tequila, but the filtration process is very minimal for aged tequilas to retain its flavor. And then finally to the last process, which is bottling. So the finished bottle is bottled at 40% ABV in the signature Don Julio bottle, as you can see over here. So what are the unique features of Don Julio making process? The very first thing that is noteworthy is the slow roasting process that they follow, and another unique, as I mentioned earlier, is the single estate agave. That means it's grown, harvested, while the tequila is all being made in under one estate. The third unique thing that you would find in the production is how they produce in smaller batches, and another noteworthy thing that makes the Don Julio stand out is the aging process. So let's talk about the bottle itself. As you can see, the Don Julio tequila compared to other tequila bottles are usually like tall and slender. This is short and round, and it sits on a table well. That was intentionally created so that you could easily put it in the table while you are having a social gathering, and that is the reason why it is made so different. So let's talk about how much it costs to get this. This cost around 400 to 430 dirhams in the UAE. So it is on the pricey end, but it is completely worth it. Now it's time for the much awaited smell test and taste test. So I'm going to start by opening the seal. As you can see, it is plastic encased seal. Right here there is a little marking on opening the seal. I'm just going to go ahead and open up the seal. I love how the cap is like really nice and round, helps in gripping. I'm just going to give this a nice tug. So this is a wooden cork, as you can see over here. Nice and snug in the Don Julio bottle. Let's give this a smell test. This gives a nice earthy smell. You can smell the undertones of vanilla and caramel as well. Really good. Now we're going to go ahead and give this a pour. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. As you can see, the liquid is not clear, it's slightly dark, kind of light brown. I hope you can see that. As opposed to tequilas that you usually find in the market, this does not pour clear. It has a brownish tint to it, almost honey-like. Now let's give this a taste test. Cheers. Very nice. So as every tequila, it has the forefront taste of the agave that hits you first, and in the back of the tongue you can feel the caramel vanilla taste. It has a spice to it that you can feel it as an aftertaste once it goes down. Now let's talk about the food pairings that goes well with the Don Julio tequila. Very first thing obviously is the Mexican cuisine. Tequila pairs really well with Mexican cuisine. Second thing, that you can try it with seafood like grilled shrimp and lobsters. You can also give it a try with aged cheese. Dark chocolate is again another example. Grilled meats also pair really well, and you can also opt for roasted veggies as well, like sweet potatoes or carrots with a smoky finish. So how can you drink this? You can have this neat or on the rocks, and if you, it is premium tequila, so it's made for sipping, unlike the other tequila that you usually go for like to take shots. But you can give it a try with shots as well. You do you. And then finally, let's go through some of the classic cocktails that you can make with this tequila. So you can try the Añejo Old Fashioned. So basically this is the Añejo or the Don Julio tequila with sugars, bitters and orange peel, which is a classic or recommended cocktail for this tequila over here. Another cocktail that you can try is the Tequila Manhattan. So this is basically the tequila plus sweet vermouth, orange bitter with a cherry. If you want to give it a try, another cocktail is Añejo Sour. That is with the tequila, lemon juice, simple syrup and an optional egg white. Another interesting cocktail that you can have is the Añejo Martini Espresso. That is when you pair the tequila with espresso and any coffee liqueur. Finally, another popular drink that you can have, or another popular cocktail that you can have, is a smoky margarita. Here you can use the Don Julio mezcal, lime juice and agave syrup. So do let me know in the comments if you would like to try the Don Julio tequila, and if you have already tried it, your thoughts on this, and do click on the like, share and subscribe button if you enjoyed my video.